Hey there, I've made this quick video to show you how to use the new impressions plate that goes with the cut and emboss machine. It's a great addition to the tools available. It comes in this plastic sleeve, which is where I'm going to store mine, and it comes with an instruction sheet. However, these are good guidelines. I'm going to show you a different way to do it. So you can follow these, or you can check out my video and see which way you prefer. Now we have we currently have two impressions dies. One is Phrases and Frames, which I have. The other one is Opulent Oasis, and you can see the dies on page 58, and you can see the coordinating stamp set on page 50. And there's also a coordinating stamp set with these called Phrases and Frames. It's also shown on page 50, and the dies are shown on page 58. So you can find those in the May through August catalog that goes live tomorrow, May 5th. All right, so this is a flexible silicone pad. When you purchase your cut and emboss machine, you get your platform, your shim, cutting pads, cutting plates, and then plate number 4, which we up until now have only used with embossing folders. Well, this is going to come into play with the impressions plate. So let me just show you really quick. These dies, the Phrases and Frame dies, consist of 4 dies. And what I've done, I've already cut some out so you can see them. And it might be hard to see on camera the detail that you get, but this is the smallest. This is the next size up. So these actually have an embossed design in the cutout die. Okay, so this one is the one you want to look at. And I did just want to show you, if you just die cut without using the impressions plate, this is the look you're going to get. So this is the difference. This is without the impressions plate. This is using the impressions plate. So I don't know on camera if you can see the difference, but this has the detail, but it's very flat. This has the detail, and it's actually embossed into the frame. Okay. And I just want to point out the way the instructions say to use the impressions plate, I did with this frame. And then the way I'm going to show you, I did with this frame. And they're basically identical. So you can try the instruction way, but I think you'll find mine is a lot easier. Okay, one other thing I want to point out is I have written out the measurements for these dies. So if you purchase these, you can come back and just do the same thing right on a card. This is what size cardstock you need in order to cut out the entire frame, okay? And if you start with this piece, this is 4.5 by 6, and you cut these in size order from largest to small, you can just keep using the cutout portion from each of the previous dies. So that's a little tip if you're cutting all 4 out. Start with the largest and then just keep using the die cut piece from the center to cut the subsequent dies. Alrighty, so let me just show you. I'm going to show you with the large one. So I think it's going to be the easiest to see. I'm not going to explain these directions. You can read this. It comes with your impressions plate. I'm going to keep this in the package, but I'm just going to show you my way. So you can do what you want. You can experiment. I recommend you experiment. But now in the past with our other machines, we have had a similar impressions plate. It's a piece of silicone, and what happens is it does not cut this. This will not be cut. And so you can use this with other dies to get the shape of your die pressed into your cardstock, but it will not cut. So this is just for getting an embossed design. Okay, that's not a folder. And so what we're going to do first is we are going to use number 1, number 2, okay, and number 4. All right, and we are going to do 1 and 2, and then we're going to lay our impressions plate down. I think it's funny it's called a plate because it's so flippy floppy. We're going to lay that down. We're going to lay our cardstock down, and we're going to lay this cutting side down onto our paper. Oh, I didn't cut this right. That's great. Let me grab another piece of paper. I didn't cut it big enough. I'll just use this ginormous one. I even wrote a note so I would know what size to cut it. And I will actually do it this way so I can get 2 out of this piece of paper. Okay, so you can use a 4.5 by 6 piece of cardstock. You don't have to use a giant one. Now I've got number 1, number 2, the impressions plate, the silicone pad, and then number 4. And you don't want this right at the edge. You want to have some room because this pad is really squishy and it's going to get squeezed out the other end sort of. So I'll just send this through. And you can see it's right here. It's hanging off the edge. That's okay. It just needs to be under your cardstock where your die is going to be. Okay, so this is number 4. This is my die and my cardstock, and this is my impressions plate. Okay. Alrighty. So next what we're going to do, so this is what it looks like if you just send it through. You get lots of detail. You can do this right on your card. The Opulent Oasis flower is really pretty. A lot of people are just using that as a background on their card. They're not even cutting it out. And so this is how we're going to cut this out though. So I'm going to set aside my impressions plate and number 4. And I'm going to bring in 2 number 3 cutting plates, just as if I'm cutting anything else. I'm going to cut this piece of paper and make it a little bit shorter, just because it's kind of fiddly. Okay, so this is the piece we just ran through. Now, by running it through first with the impressions plate, you're going to have a debossed area where the edges are, and your die is going to slip right into that. Watch. Just kind of move it around. It'll slip right into there, and then it kind of catches. So it's going to stay there. So I have my platform, my shim, 1 and 2, and then I'm using 2 clear plates, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top. I'm just going to send this through. This is kind of opposite to what the directions say to do, but I think it holds the die in place much better in impressing it first and then die cutting it. So now I have my trash. I have my frame, and this die cut, I can die cut now the next one, it'll fit. And then this piece, I can die cut this piece out of. And then this one, I can die cut out of this one. So it's really nice that it just keeps gradually getting smaller, but it's still the right size for the next one. Okay, anyway, this is the finished piece. And so we have our deep detail. Now, if you want it to be an even deeper detail, you can spritz your cardstock. Spritz your cardstock, run it through the impressions plate, and let it dry. It really makes a big difference, but I'm too lazy to do that. So if you want it to be deeper and like more obvious, you spritz it lightly with water, send it through, and let it dry. And that's how you would get a deeper impression even than this. So I hope you can see the detail. It's going to be a fun thing. Right now we have 2 sets of dies, Phrases and Frames and Opulent Oasis. They are both shown in the May through August catalog on page 58. The plate is shown on page 74. It's just $11. And one thing you'll notice is if you have a really cut up cutting pad, if you run this through a couple times, it'll actually grab some of those teeny tiny pieces of die cut paper out of those grooves. And if this happens and it gets, you know, covered and it's really noticeable, you can take this to the sink and just rinse it with cool water, give it a little shake, and dry it off with a paper towel. Just blot it dry. It dries really fast. So it's easy to keep clean, it's easy to maintain, and it will go back into this packaging if you hold your instructions and the pad together and then flip this over and kind of bend it, it slips right back in. So that's how I'll be storing mine. I hope this has been a helpful video, and I hope you'll enjoy using the impressions plate. Oh, one other thing. In the future, we'll be adding more impressions dies. So anytime you want to see what is available for the impressions plate, you can go to the store and just search impressions. And all of the dies and stamp sets and the impression plate will come up in that search. So anytime 7 months from now when we have a new catalog, you can just check and go, oh, I wonder what the new things are that work with the impressions plate. And one thing I was disappointed in is these don't specify on the packaging that they're impressions. So I'm just going to use my label maker, and on my envelope, I'm just going to put a label that says impressions so that I can find them easily. And I know which ones will work well, which ones are meant to work with the impressions plate. All right, well, as always, let me know if you have any questions. I hope this has been informative.